Good morning, students. I, Dr. Shafali Jain. Today we discuss about what is utility. Today we discuss the concept of utility. Utility is the satisfaction or benefit derived from consuming a good or service. It is a fundamental concept in economics that help explain how individuals make decisions and maximize their well-being. It means in economics, utility is term used to determine the worth or value of a good or service. More specifically, utility is the total satisfaction or benefit derived from consuming a good or service. Utility is a psychological fact that implies want satisfying power. It means utility is also covered want satisfying power of a good or service. It differs from person to person as it relies on a person's mental attitude. The measurability of a utility is always a controversial subject. The two primary theories for utility are ordinal utility and cardinal utility. Utility refers to the usefulness of desirability of a good or service. It is a subjective measure that varies from person to person and depends on individual preference and need. If we say that the approach of utility is also divided into two parts cardinal utility analysis and ordinal utility analysis. Many traditional economics proposed a view that utility is measured quantitatively, like length, height, weight, temperature, etc. The concept is termed a cardinal utility. On the other hand, ordinal utility expresses the utility of commodity in terms of more than or less than. It means in the ordinal utility, it is measured in the rank high, low, type C. Now we decide what is the cardinal utility approach? Cardinal utility approach assigned numerical values or represent a level of satisfaction or benefit derived from consuming a good or services. Cardinal utility is a quantitative approach in understanding consumer preference. It suggests that the utility of satisfaction derived from consuming goods or services can be measured in numerical terms as 1, 2, 3, 4. The cardinal utility theory assumes that consumers are rational and aim to maximize their satisfaction or utility. It is based on the assumptions that the level of satisfaction can be measured and a value can be assigned to it. This approach this approach assumes that utility can be quantified and that individual can make rational decisions to maximize their utility. According to the classical economists, utility is a quantitative concept. Marshall, Pico, these classical economists consider that utility is a quantitative concept. Uh, that can be measured in terms of number 1, 2, 4, 5, etc. Hence, they introduce the concept of measuring utility using a cardinal approach. According to this concept, the utility can be expressed similarly to how weight and height are expressed. However, the economics lacked a precise unit for utility. Hence, they derived a psychological unit terms as util. They measured the utility in the terms of util. Util is not regarded as a standard unit because it varies from person to person, place to place, and time to time. For example, if a person assigns 30 utils to a pizza and 20 utils to a chow we can understand that the pizza has double capacity to satisfy the human wants. as a util is not a standard unit for measuring utility. Many economists including Professor Alfred Marshall suggested measurement of utility in terms of money, that you can measure the utility in terms of money, because utility is not considered a standard unit that consumer are willing to pay for a commodity. It can be measured to get a particular to use a particular commodity, how much consumer get a utility and how he much willing to pay for the commodity. If each rupees is equal to a one util, a pizza worth rupee 30 has and 30 utils, and a chowmein worth rupee 20 has 20 utils. Hence, the consumer who consumes burger will yield utility of 30 utils, and those who consume chowmein will yield utils of 20 utils. Thus, it means you can give a util, one util equal to a 1 rupee, and how much the consumer is willing to pay for the commodity, and because and these units he gets the utility. The supply and the demand of a product decide its price. Moreover, the person's desire for a product depend on these three factors. First of all, price of the item. Second, income of a person. And third, the cost of the other relative item. It means cardinal utility, in which is also depend the price of the item. If the price of the item is increased, the gaining utility will be decrease. Just like the income of a person, if will be increased, and it is also depend on the cost of the other. If the substitute goods the cost of the substitute goods is decreased, yeah, increased, it is depend also how much utility he gain. Now we also discuss, I think you have to understood what is the cardinal utility. Now we discuss about the features of cardinal utility. There are some key features of cardinal utility. In cardinal utility, it assumes that utility can be measured and expressed in cardinal numbers such as 1, 2, 3, and so on. I have also explained you that cardinal utility also measured in the numerical forms. The concept is based on the assumption that the utility of a good or services can be measured in absolute terms, as you can measure in the util, and it is also considered that util is not a standard unit, so you can also measure in it to the form of money. Cardinal utility is used to calculate the total satisfaction a consumer derive from consuming a certain quantity of a good or service. It means कि total जो satisfaction है, कितना satisfaction एक goods और services के consuming से एक व्यक्ति को, एक consumer को gain हुआ है. तो you can total the total satisfaction of the utility. Cardinal utility theory suggests that a consumer is capable of making a rational decision of maximizing their utility. The theory is often associated, this cardinal utility approach and theory is often associated with the law of diminishing margin utility, which states that the utility derived from each additional unit of a good and service decrease as the quantity consumed increase. It means the marginal utility means additional utility. How much how much we take the units of a commodity, the marginal utility become decrease. इसका मतलब है कि जैसे जैसे हम एक सपोज एक कंज्यूमर है, एक ब्रेड का यूज कर एक ब्रेड का एक रोटी का यूज कर रहा है, जब वो एक रोटी खाता है तो सपोज उसकी जो मार्जिन यूटिलिटी है उसको 18 गेन हो रही है। पर जैसे जैसे एज सुन एज ही इंक्रीजेस द कंजम्पशन ऑफ अ ब्रेड, सेकेंड रोटी उसने खाई तो बिकॉज ही हैज समथिंग फुलफिल, नाउ ही गेट्स ओनली first from the first bread he gets 20 utils, now he gain only 15 utils, अब उसे क्योंकि थोड़ा फुलफिल हो गया, अब उसने थर्ड रोटी खाई, नाउ ही गेन्स 12 utils, नेक्स्ट रोटी खाई सपोज तो नाउ ही गेट्स 8 utils। तो इट मीन्स यह है कि जो जो इसकी थ्योरी है, इट इज ऑल्सो एसोसिएट विद द लॉ ऑफ डिमिनिशिंग margin utility, as soon as the consumer increase या derive from each additional utils of a goods and services decrease as the quantity consumed increases. It forms the basis for various economics theories and models, including demand theory and price theory. The concept is often used in welfare economics, which attempts to use cardinal utility to determine the overall level of social welfare. Cardinal utility can be inferred from price of a consumer is willing to pay for a good or services. Cardinal utility is also concerned how much price a consumer willing to pay a commodity for a good for a service. It is a key concept, it is a key concept in the it is a key concept of the new classical economics. I have also explained, and it useful and provides a exact measurement of utility has proven be a challenging. Now I think you have to understood what is the cardinal utility. In short, I can also explain you that cardinal utility is given by the Alfred Marshall, and in it we can measure it in the terms of util and money, and the law of diminishing margin utility, the theory of law of diminishing margin utility welfare, we can also use in it. Now we discuss about what is the ordinal utility. Ordinal utility is a qualitative approach, as cardinal utility is depend on the quantitative approach, but ordinal utility is depend on the qualitative approach. Suggests that while consumer can rank their preference, it means ranking preference. First of all, the ordinal utility approach focuses on ranking preference without assigning numerical values to utility. It means in ordinal utility, it is given by the Hicks, and Hicks considered that it is a psychological feeling, and you cannot give the numerical values to the utility. You can give the rank, and it is a qualitative approach. And while consumer can rank their preferences, they cannot measure the satisfaction derived from consumption in the numerical terms. The ordinal utility theory assumes that consumer can rank their preference for different bundles of goods, but cannot express the magnitude of differences in satisfaction. Ordinary utilities state that the satisfaction a consumer gets after consuming a good or services cannot be scaled in number. Professor Hicks considered that a consumer cannot measure the utility in the scale, in utils, in money, and in number, whereas these things can be arranged in order to preference. Two English economists, as I have also I have explained, John Hicks, R.J. Allen, 1930, argue assumed that the consumer behavior theory should be introduced based on the ordinal utility. According to the ordinal approach, utility is a psychological phenomena like happiness, satisfaction, and welfare. The ordinal theory is highly subjective and differs across individual. Therefore, it cannot be the measure in it cannot be measured in quantitative items. In the numericals values, the function that represent utility of a product according to its preference, but does not provide any numerical figure, is known as an ordinal utility. In simple words, this theory considered that it is relevant to ask which item is better as compared to the other, instead of how good is the product. For example, a BMW car is more favorite than a Toyota car, but it cannot be determined why, what what percentage. We can give a preference to a one things that it is better than the other, but we cannot see how much better it is from the other. Um, uh, just as it become easy when there are two types of commodities. Suppose you take a imagine, suppose two types of commodities X and Y. If indifference can provide coordination and buying when X1 and Y1. I can also explain you in when we discuss about the indifference curve in the figure. Uh, and x2 y2 lie on the same curve line, and x1 xy x1 y1 is less than the x2 y2. If x1 y1 is lies on the down curve, and x2 xy is um, it is on the high curve. To how much high it is gives the more satisfaction. This is the indifference curve. Indifference curve are used to show the combination of goods and that provide the same level of satisfaction of the to the consumer. Uh, uh, Indifference curve map where the preference of a it means indifference curve map where the preference of a goods is shown, but not the quantity. Each of the curves represent a combinations of two services or goods. The consumers are equally satisfied with the goods and services. The more distance a curve is from the origin, the higher its utility level. जितना अधिक डिस्टेंस जो होता है कर्व का ओरिजिन से होगा, जितनी हाई लेवल पर कर्व होगा उतना ही हायर यूटिलिटी लेवल वो गेन करेगा, और जितना डाउन लेवल होगा उतना ही कम यूटिलिटी गेन होगी. इट मीन्स the utility according to this approach can be measured in relative terms such as less than the greater than. This approach states that consumer behavior can be explained in terms of preferences or ranking. For example, a consumer may prefer soft drink over hard drink. In such a case, the soft drink would have a first rank, while second rank would be given to the hard drink. I think you have to understood what is how we give the rank to the goods and commodities. Therefore, as per the ordinal approach, a consumer observe different pairs of two commodities, which would provide him or her the same level of satisfaction. Among these pairs, he and she may prefer uh, one commodity over the other based or how he and she ranks them in order of the utility. This implies that utility can be ranked uh, qualitative rather than quantitative. Just like now we discuss about the features of ordinal utility. Ordinal utility, and now I think you have to fully understood what is the ordinal utility. Ordinal utility is a uh, innate marginal utility. जैसे कि the concept of marginal utility explained how the satisfaction derived from the consuming a additional unit of a good diminishes as a consumer consumption increase. I have also explained you that marginal utility, it means the additional utility. Now we discuss about what is the features of ordinal utility. Ordinal utility is a qualitative approach to understanding consumer behavior. First of all, consumers rank their preferences based on the satisfaction derived from consumption of a product or service. Unlike uh, cardinal utility doesn't require utility to be measured in the quantitative units, in the numbers and numerical forms, and it gives the ranking. Ordinal utility is considered more realistic as it acknowledges that it is difficult to measure satisfaction in the numerically. The concept of utility is used in different in difference curve analysis, a fundamental tool in microeconomics. The ordinal utility theory assumes that if a consumer prefers good A over good B, the good B over good C, the consumer will prefer good A over good B. Oh, sorry, good A over good C. Uh, Now we discuss utility maximization. Now पहले first of all we discuss about the similarities. I think you have to understood what is the cardinal utility and what is the ordinal utility. We discuss about the similarities of between cardinal and ordinal approach. Here are the some similarities between cardinal and ordinal approach. Some first of all, जैसे fundamentals to consumer behavior. Both theories are used to analyze how consumer make choices and how these choices affect the demand for goods and services. Next, involving ranking. In both cardinal and ordinal utility, consumers rank their preferences for different goods and services. Next, both cardinal utility and ordinal utility, both are based on the assumption or rationality. Both theories assume that consumers are rational in nature and aim to maximize their satisfaction. Now, we can also say both approach involve the concept of marginal utility. Both cardinal and ordinal utility involve the concept of marginal utility. I have also explained you before that what is marginal utility? It means the additional utility, which refers to satisfaction that a consumer gains from consuming additional units of a good or service. Used in demand analysis, both cardinal and ordinal utility are used in demand analysis to understand how changes in price and income after consumers demand. Uh, Now I think completely understood why the cardinal utility analysis and ordinal utility analysis. In the brief, I have also what is the cardinal utility and ordinal utility. So first of all, just say cardinal utility is the utility where the satisfaction derived by the consuming a product can be expressed numerically. Just like the ordinal utility is that utility where the satisfaction derived by consuming a product cannot be expressed numerically. Next approach, cardinal utility is depend on the quantitative and ordinal utility is depend on the qualitative evaluation. If we evaluate a cardinal utility can be evaluated in the utils, and ordinal utility can be evaluated in the ranks examinations. Cardinal utility can be examined with the help of marginal utility analysis, just like a ordinal utility can be examined with the help of the indifference curve analysis. Uh, and cardinal utility is given by the traditional and new classical economics, Alfred Marshall, and ordinal utility is given by the modern economics, John R. Hicks. And if we can say about the realistic, cardinal utility is less realistic because, and ordinal utility is more realistic because utility is a psychological feeling, and it is based on the utility analysis, and it is based on the indifference curve analysis. Just like we can also we can also the differences between the utility. As a cardinal utility is a utility that determines the satisfaction of a commodity used by an individual and can be supported with a numerical value. On the other hand, ordinal utility defined that satisfaction of user goods can be ranked in order to of preference cannot be evaluated in the numerically. Now, these are the difference between cardinal and ordinal utility. Just like the measuring terms for cardinal and ordinal utility is utils and rank representability. Utils is the unit of utility and ranks determine the preferences of a product compared to the other products in the market. It means which we can give a good product a rank and other product B rank. Just like a consumer can giving the rank by consuming these goods. Ordinary utility measures the utility of goods subjectivity, but cardinal utility evaluate objectivity. Uh, Cardinal utility is not much realistic. It is less realistic as compared to the ordinal utility as quantitative evaluation of the utility is not practicable because quantitative evaluation of the utility and in the cardinal utility we measure the utility in the numerical forms and we can see that in the real world we can quantitative evaluation is not possible and not practicable and ordinal utility depends on the qualitative measurement while makes a more realistic. Another difference between the ordinal and cardinal utility is that the former one is based ordinal utility is based on indifference analysis and the cardinal utility is based on the marginal utility evaluation. Alfred Marshall and his supporter presented the cardinal utility approach while Hicks and Allen also present the ordinary utility approach. With the example, we can also explain both. Just say, suppose pizza gives 60 utils of satisfaction, whereas burger gives um, uh, suppose pizza gives a person 60 utils of satisfaction, whereas burger gives him only 40 utils. And it is the example of the cardinal utility. While in the ordinal utility, a person gets more satisfaction from a pizza as compared to the that of a burger because we give the rank in it according point that can be considered as a difference between cardinal and ordinal is that ordinal evaluation is sure to give outcomes. The ordinal utility is preferred more because it provides more realistic result. And the concept of the cardinal is not so realistic. It is less realistic, but still it is used for the context like discounted utilities, making settlements under risk, just and welfare calculation. Uh, in the conclusion, cardinal utility is based on the cardinal utility approach, which assumed that utility is measurable and can be expressed in units of utility. This approach, supported by the new classical economists, and suggested that the satisfaction derived from the consumer of goods and services can be quantified in cardinal numbers like 1, 2, 3, and so on. Cardinal utility measure the level of the satisfaction in absolute terms. On the other hand, ordinal utility is based. Ordinal utility is based uh, on marginal utility and is considered more realistic by modern economists. It suggests that consumer rank their preference rather than measuring them in the cardinal numbers. In other words, cardinal utility measurement are evolved in order to of preference, not the exact measurement of satisfaction. ordinal utility approach. The ordinal utility approach focuses on ranking preference without assigning numerical values to utility, and it is measured in the indifference curve. Indifference curve are used to show the combination of goods that provide the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. Now, Strand, I think you have understood well what is utility and the what is cardinal utility. What is the features of cardinal utility? What is the features of ordinal utility? I think, and what is the similarities between cardinal utility and ordinal utility, and what is the difference between cardinal utility and ordinal utility? I hope you have understood well. Thank you, Strand.